Hello, FedPhoenix fam. I've had some people asking me about admin remedies, and the topic has come up in a couple groups I'm in. So I want to go ahead and do a video on that. Um, so first off, what are admin remedies? Admin remedies is short for administrative remedies, okay? And these are basically a resource, an option you have as an inmate to help resolve a variety of issues. Um, Now, some people did when I was in prison. Some people did. I think they're called, and they're all start with BP. So admin remedies are BP 8, 8.5, BP 9, BP 10, sensitive 10, BP 11, and I'll get into what all those are. So and the higher the number, like basically the higher on the food chain, the higher on the hierarchy of Bureau of Prisons authority you're addressing. Some people did, like, I think they were called BP 8 or BP 8.5. I never did any. I never helped anyone do any. And from what I understand, these were pretty much just like in-house on the compound complaints. But so, like, let's say a guard had mishandled you, you could do one of those. And I believe those got turned into either your unit manager or your case manager. Honestly, these people are not going to be correcting one another. 100% they're not. They are very much desensitized to you, the inmate, being a human being. They automatically assume anything you do is attempting to make trouble or do something underhanded. And, they're very desensitized to you. They don't see you as a person. They see you as a problem that they manage for so many hours a day before they go home. So, from what I've seen, these BP 8, BP 8.5s have achieved literally nothing other than people basically putting a target on their back. You know what I mean? If a CO mishandles you and you want to fuss to another low level prison worker, your case manager, your building manager, whatever, maybe the department head, all you're going to do is, they're probably not even going to address it. And if they do, they're going to address it amongst themselves and be like, oh, this entitled criminal had the audacity to complain about you. They did the crime, they should do the time. So that's really just, it absolutely serves no purpose other than wasting paper and, just really probably making more problems for yourself, because now you're going to get yourself labeled as a person that likes to be disruptive and likes to try to criticize those in authority. So we're just going to pretend those don't exist because they're going to do you no favors. Now, here's where things matter and can do you favors. Your BP 9, the admin remedy level of BP 9 is, and it's a form you fill out, right, with your inmate number, all that, what prison you're in, all that. And it's to address things directly to the warden. Now, you can send an email on the true links to the warden or the warden's secretary. More often than not, they just completely ignore you. And it's not really considered like something that there's an official record of. Whereas with the admin remedies, they're supposed to be like filed away in some kind of official record. However, when I was at Outerson under Gretchen Ryle, aka Gretchen Third Reich, who thankfully is no longer there, it was pretty obvious that, things like nines were just getting thrown in the trash more often than not. They weren't actually even being given consideration. Or they would sit on her desk for months, like way beyond the period of time they're supposed to, and then be given no consideration. Or if they're given a response, it was very much a very dismissive kind of brush off thing, no matter how legitimate the complaint was. So you may be in a situation where you're incarcerated in a facility where the warden actually does their job a little bit and doesn't just, harass people and allegedly embezzle money and whatever else and use it as their personal, kingdom of misery. If you're in a situation, I would always ask, I strongly advise, ask the other inmates. Say, hey, I'm thinking about doing a BP 9 about this. What do you think? Do you think is the warden fair? Is the warden, conscientious? Is the warden humane? Is the warden reasonable? To kind of gauge if that's really worth your time or not. Now, these forms, BP 9s, BP 10s, BP 11, and sensitive 10s, you get all of those from your caseworker. So if you need to get these forms and you can't get them from another inmate, because I always prefer, if I can get it off someone else, I'd rather do that than talk to staff. But what you'll do is your caseworker, just like your case manager, your unit manager, all those people, they will have what is called open house hours. These are specific times during the week on specific days that you can go line up outside their office and have a one-on-one conversation with them. They're not necessarily going to be particularly nice or receptive. It is literally formality and just part of doing their job to make themselves accessible like this. Sometimes things go reasonably well, sometimes they don't. And it is what it is, part of the course. Now, another reason you might want to do a BP9. And again, BP9s are about basically complaints about things that are in-house to the warden, right? So a lot of times people use BP9s for things like their case managers failing to put them in for the appropriate amount of halfway house time. A lot of times when people want to be moved to a different prison, they will start by filing a BP9. And some people file habeas corpuses, which is a whole different thing for those, and that would go to the judge. But the thing about that is a lot of times federal judges, when they respond to you, if they respond to you, well, and one of the first things they're going to ask is, did you utilize the admin remedies before you decided to monopolize my time? And if the answer is nope, none at all, they're probably going to say, if this is still an issue after your admin remedies, come back to me with it. Until then, please quit tying up my line. So you always want to, if you're going to address your judge or motion your judge for something, what you want to do is you certainly want to, or a judge, I think habeas corpuses don't necessarily always go through your sentencing judge, but you would want to do a BP9 first and foremost, because you want to create a paper trail that shows that you've been respective of the chain of command and you're doing things the way you're supposed to. And that will help you potentially get a little more consideration. Now, let's say you have an issue like, one common one that I went through, a lot of people went through where I was at during that time because of the warden, and her personal prejudices, is people were wrongfully deemed FSA ineligible when they were in fact eligible. So you would do your BP9. Now, if that does not go the way that, and I think you can expect a response from that in 30 or 60 days. If that does not go favorably, you can then go to the next level, which is a BP10. Now, this goes to regional. And what you're going to need to do is attach a copy of your original 9 and the response to the 10. And it's really smart at this point to attach any documentation that supports what you're saying or what you're wanting. For me, when I did my 10, I believe, and when I did my 11, I believe I attached, aside from just filling out the form, but my initial comp sheet that shows that I was eligible, my, and the printout of my charges and the codes and the fact that these were not charges that would, exempt me from being able to earn FSA. And I attached a copy of my most recent team paper showing that I had not one disciplinary infraction. I was programming, I was working, like I was literally doing everything under the sun that a person can do to do their time and go home. To just kind of illustrate that, me filing these remedies was not me just trying to be difficult, but I am a person who is really doing what they're supposed to do and just wants to be afforded what I should be. Now, when you send your 10 out to regional, once they receive it, and you actually get something in the mail letting you know when your 10s and 11s are received. You're supposed to get this for 9s, but from my experience, you don't always get it. And when you can expect a response. And usually, I believe with the 10, they have 2 months to respond, right? Now, a lot of times, about a month or so after, you'll get another letter from regional, and this happens with the 11s on the Washington, D.C. level as well, saying, oh, we're giving ourselves an extension to respond to you because we're overwhelmed with, all of the people filing admin remedies and all the paperwork that we got to go sift through. My experience was, and mind you, at the time, it was like height of COVID, so there was a lot more moving parts. FSA had just became a thing. CARES Act was only a thing, as far as early release from prison during that small window of time, and it completely kind of came out of the blue. And so staff on every level of the BOP, including judges, from judges all the way down to COs, were really misinformed, and there's a lot of miscommunication and bad information, and it was just a mess. It was a whole big old mess. But my experience was they just kind of did a copy paste response and sent that, and there you go to the next level if you still want to pursue this. When I did my BP10 for not getting released on CARES Act, which I should have, and I didn't, but when I did that 10, I attached a copy from one of the attachments was a copy of a cop out. Cop outs are forms you handwrite. And you can do electronic cop outs, which basically is emailing someone within the prison. But I had did a cop out to the health services, to medical, to the administrator, to the head, and said, do I qualify for CARES? I'm under the impression that I should, based upon my health issues. Can I get confirmation of that from you? Or if I do not, can you explain why? And on this cop out that was dated, stamped, signed, everything, she says back to me, and this is a paper document, you absolutely 100% qualify for CARES. And here's an example of a few of the things that qualify you. So I attached this with my 10 to Regional about CARES Act. And literally the copy paste response they gave me was, oh, we looked at your file and you don't meet the medical criteria. I did a dozen times over, but so these things, now if you're a person with a lot of money, financial resources, do your 9 and then let the lawyer handle the 10 and the 11. And if you're going to do habeas corpus, let the lawyer do it. A lot of people in prison just did their own habeas corpuses because they couldn't afford lawyers. But if you can afford it, the 9 you have to do yourself. But once you get that back, lawyer up. Now, most people, again, cannot afford it. The best you can afford is, the free advice of another inmate, having your family research things on Google, or maybe do a free consultation with a lawyer on your behalf, or paying another inmate who's more knowledgeable to help you with things as well. So that's your 10. Now, if your 10 comes, and before I move on to the 11s, now there's something called a sensitive 10. What a sensitive 10 is, let's say your issue is something that you worry that if you filed the 9, because you can't do the 10 until you file the 9, right? They make you actually wait for responses and go through these various phases, very time consuming. But let's say your issue is one, like when the warden took my unit hostage for a week, and that's actually, there's a video on my channel about that as well. It's like Prison Story, the hostage situation. It was insane. Everybody on the unit nearly was asking for sensitive 10s to send out. And the sensitive 10, what it is it's basically a form you can use, an admin remedy, that goes straight to regional. You skip over doing a 9, and it's just right on the level of regional, right on the 10 level. But it's called a sensitive 10 because if they ask you why you want it, you don't have to give a reason. Now, if you ask for a 9 or a 10 or an 11, they may ask why and have you done the previous steps. But with with a sensitive 10, you can say, I'm not comfortable sharing that information with you. Respectfully, can I please have it? Because I feel it needs to be filed. And at that point, technically, they have to give it to you, although you will quickly learn as an inmate, they do what they want. Policy, procedure, law, all that is irrelevant based upon the mood of the staff at any given day. So anyway, your sensitive 10, when the warden took us hostage, there were a lot of human rights, prisoner rights. A lot of our rights were just trampled on and kicked around. And it was just really a crazy situation. And so a lot of people did sensitive 10s. And how this is supposed to work is you fill out the form, you send it out to regional, right? Someone reads it, and then if they feel that the situation needs to be addressed, they do that on their level. And I think you can even anonymously do a sensitive 10. However, what was happening with us, our regional was in Beckley, West Virginia. And the warden had already been using the legal team or legal staff that particular regional has on hand to justify her wrongfully incarcerating people beyond the length of time they should be incarcerated based on her prejudice. So she was already chummy, with them. And so what was happening is people did all these sensitive 10s, which are sensitive 10s. They're like confidential BP 10s to protect you from ramifications from the warden or other prison staff or the prison itself. It's an issue that needs to be brought to the attention of regional, but without you having to worry about being retaliated against, right? Literally, the warden's friends at regional, all these BP-10s that people filed that 100% should have never came back on the camp and should have been anonymous, got sent right back by regional to the inmates through the mailroom, copied, shown to the warden, and there was repercussions. Not directly. The warden never said, oh, because you filed a BP-10, I'm going to be particularly difficult for you. But it was apparent. So I've never heard of another situation where that's happened. But keep in mind that these things are possible. So when you do a BP10, and if that does not go favorably once you get your response, then you can do a BP11. And this is where the admin remedies cap off. The BP11 goes to Washington, D.C. And with that, you will need to attach a copy of the original BP9 and the response, your 10 and the response, fill out the form for the 11. Any attached documents you attach on any level, you have to additionally attach those on levels moving forward as well. And that one goes to Washington, D.C. to be considered. So that's the admin remedies. A lot of times with judges, like I said, for various motions and various things like habeas corpuses, a judge will want to know, they'll want to ask you or your lawyer, did you use your admin remedies before you came to me? Like, are you skipping line on the chain of command? And sometimes if you say, well, I did my 9 and this is, and this is the result, really some judges, also a lot of judges will say, have you exhausted your admin remedies? That means, have you went through the process of the 9, the 10, and the 11, which from personal experience, that process can be as short as 5 or 6 months. More often than not, 9 months to a year is how long that entire process is going to take you. But they will ask you, have you exhausted your admin remedy process? And when you have a lawyer motion your judge, or you motion your judge, or a federal judge on any issue pertaining to any detail of your incarceration or conditions of your incarceration, you need to mention in that, if you've done any of your admin remedies, what the outcome was, and attach copies. So these are your admin remedies. I've had several people say to me, I know I qualify for RDEP, but they're not letting me in. What do I do? Admin remedies. Start with your 9, have at it. A lot of people have said, I'm in a housing unit that's dangerous and the staff don't care. Admin remedies, again, don't even bother with the 8, 8.5. Just hop to the 9, get to it. People have said to me, my loved one was, whatever, admin remedies. And, and if it's something that is an issue that requires the BOP to do something and not a judge, the BOP exclusively to handle it, or it could easily be handled by the BOP, but it's something that you fear retaliation for filing an admin remedy, you want to go with a sensitive 10 on that. That does not require you do a 9. You just hop to it, you get the form, you fill it out, and you mail it out. So that's a little rundown on admin remedies, and how they can assist you if you're incarcerated or your incarcerated loved one. As always, my email will be in the description if you'd like to reach out for me, if you need or would like to reach out to me for any reason. As will my Cash App and PayPal if you'd like to donate to the channel, to the cost of me putting together my book, which I'm still working on, to my re-entry, whatever. I certainly would appreciate any and all generosity if anyone chooses to show any. And there will be a link in the description as well to the FedPhoenix merch line. Get you some FedPhoenix gear. Represent your belief in people making lemonade out of lemons, cheering for the underdog, because FedPhoenix as a brand is really all about educating the public to the realities of incarceration and in the injustice system, and supporting those who are incarcerated, while incarcerated, when they come home, and supporting the loved ones, the innocent victims, and everything, whether an inmate actually is or is not guilty, whether their sentence is or is not reasonable. At the end of the day, pushing those things aside, the real victims, the real suffrage that happens a lot of times is the loved ones, the friends and family of inmates. They feel an incredible impact because of incarceration. And I'm here to happily support you guys through this, so. Oh, and good news, bad news, real quick. So, good news. I realized I can actually just remove when people leave negative comments. I was actually responding to them or just thumbs down and ignoring. But now, as I'm learning a little more of the technology, I realize I can remove them, and I'm kind of empowered by that. And bad news, now that you guys know I had major surgery on the left side of my stomach, thank you, Alderson Federal Prison Camp, for your medical neglect resulting in that, the need for that. But, so I'm recovering very well from that. However, now on my right side, where I had a previous small tear in my abdominal lining, very small hernia, I think what happened is when they put my intestines back in my stomach, you remember I had a massive amount of intestines outside my torso for an extended period of time. I think that kind of shifted some things to where I have the hole on the right side of my abdominal wall, it kind of pushed things out. So now I'm going to need another abdominal repair surgery on the other side. Thankfully, this is nowhere near as severe or complex as the one on the left. So I'll keep you updated on how it goes. You know, your thoughts, your prayers, your good vibes, whatever it is you do that's supportive, much appreciated. So with that, good day. God bless.